Hey everyone, it's me and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is me showing you, I think 7 different cozy indoor screen-free activities that you can do this winter. And mostly fairly inexpensive too. I'm not going to show you anything that costs multiple $100s. So first things first, jigsaw puzzles. I don't know about you, but I don't really enjoy doing like big old 1,000-piece puzzles that take a whole week to finish and sit out on my dining table, like mocking me. I prefer to do jigsaw puzzles that I can finish in a single sitting, or at least in a single evening. And so for larger two-person puzzle endeavors, I think 300 to 500 is reasonable for a single evening. For solo puzzling, I don't know, I think I could be able to finish a 300-piece puzzle myself in a single evening, but this is a 150-piece puzzle, but it's very small. And the pieces being tinier does make the puzzle more challenging because it's harder to see the details. So I think that this puzzle did take me about an hour and a half to do by myself, which is like not very fast at all, but I did enjoy doing it. I got this mini puzzle as a part of a set of 3 for Christmas this year. So that is activity number 1, and here's the time lapse of me finishing this puzzle. The sky was definitely the easy part, and these sunflowers at the bottom really gave me a very hard time. And by the way, guys, once again, I apologize for my soft voice tonight. Once again, I'm recording this pretty late while other people are sleeping, so I don't want to disturb them by talking loudly. But also, I had a very minor surgery earlier today, and while I wasn't intubated, they did put a device in my mouth to keep my tongue out of the way of my airway, and that has made my throat kind of sore and dry. So please bear with me for this voiceover. The set of 3 jigsaw puzzles that I got for Christmas came from Amazon. I think the 3 puzzles together were like $14. And my review is this: I actually think they're pretty decent quality. They're obviously very miniature puzzles, but you can easily pick them up and move them. The pieces interlock very well, and there aren't very many false fits. However, there are still some, and that's part of what gave me trouble on this section of the puzzle, is that I had a false fit in, and obviously I wasn't able to like put other pieces in to make them work because they wouldn't fit, because I had a bad guy in there messing everything up. So for the most part though, I do think that these puzzles are high quality. And I will say this: I don't have a big enough YouTube channel to be sponsored by anybody, or really even to have affiliate links to Amazon purchases or any online purchases. So if I'm recommending you something in this video, or advocating that you get it or not get it or whatever, it's not because I'm being sponsored or not sponsored or anything like that. It is just honestly, genuinely me. And if you'd like, I can leave links. One of the things also from Amazon was this lovely coloring book. These have gone pretty viral online, I guess, amongst the coloring space, which I'm increasingly understanding and learning is a legitimate thing. There's a whole subreddit dedicated to just coloring, and most of the people on that subreddit are coloring spreads that look pretty much like this, with what they call bold and simple designs. So this pretty much looks like a child's coloring book, but it's not. I mean, certainly a child could color in this coloring book, but it is not necessarily intended for children. And in fact, I think the intention with this coloring book is to use Ohuhu or Copic or some other brand of alcohol marker. There's like a whole test page. There's information in this book about like, oh, make sure to slip a piece of paper between so that you don't have bleed through, and they're not double-sided. Like, there's not a design on both sides of the paper. It's only on one side. And I do have alcohol-based markers. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you know that. A lot of my older videos are primarily me doing drawings and coloring them with alcohol markers. But I wanted to get back into coloring because around Christmas time I got a coloring book for my son, and he was obviously coloring it or scribbling in it with crayons, and I would color with him, and there was just something very like freeing and relaxing about coloring with crayons as opposed to markers or something like that, a more difficult medium. Crayons are kind of easy and I think forgiving. They have a natural texture to them that kind of lends itself to imperfection. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically it's not super smooth. It's never going to be. It's the crayon. One thing I did learn from my crayon coloring experiences is obviously some colors are more waxy than others, and so are very difficult to blend if you lay them down first. Green is one of those colors, and yellow tends to be one of those colors. So if you want to blend multiple shades, I would think with green, I would start off with like a blue or something underneath, because even blending two different greens is difficult because of the waxy texture. And I figured that out when I was shading in this grass and trying to mix different greens to achieve, a sort of shadow underneath these characters. So I will be enjoying this coloring book this year. I may do some with alcohol markers just to see if I like the look of it. I may try Prismacolor colored pencils, but I think for the most part I'm going to try and stick with Crayola crayons, just because if I'm thinking of coloring, I'm thinking of sitting down to a coloring book with a 64 pack of Crayola crayons and going to town on it like I did when I was a kid. So let me know what you think if you're into coloring. Do you like the adult coloring books? I don't. They give me like anxiety. And again, it's kind of like the same thing with the jigsaw puzzle, where I don't want this unfinished project sitting on my table for a week. I want to sit down in a single evening, a single sitting, and just finish something. And sit down and start a project and finish it all at once. I don't have this thing looming over my head, so that I don't feel like, oh, I have to go back and color again. I think, oh, I want to. The next little activity that I thought I'd show you is a sticker book. Have you ever done a sticker book as an adult? I have not. Really. Basically, the impetus for me wanting to get into sticker books is, again, my son has sticker books, and watching him chaotically place the stickers makes my skin crawl. And I want to be supportive of him in his creative endeavors and not micromanage where he places the stickers in his sticker book. So I let it be chaotic most of the time. But I just want a nice sticker book for me, where I can put the stickers just where I want them without a toddler interfering with my plans. So I got this sticker book for Christmas. It's of a department store. And this one kind of is a little too hand-holdy for me, because it mostly tells you where to put a lot of the stickers rather than you kind of getting to freewheel and decide. But I have another sticker book with actually reusable stickers that is a little bit more freeform, where they don't tell you where to put anything. But it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of like the vibe of this one better. I like the design of it. I like the style, like this kind of intricate, detailed, vintagey illustration, whereas the other one is more of like, I guess you would call it simple and bold, but kind of like a minimalist aesthetic. And so I prefer the vibe of this one, but I think I like the creativity and like the open-endedness of the other one more. But what I like about the sticker book in particular is it is a perfect like wind down evening activity. Like doing a single page or a single section of a page takes maybe 10 minutes to do, 20 at most. And so you can do a page or two before you go to bed, and it's not going to loom over you. It's not going to take a ton of time. It's something that is pretty relaxing, and you don't have to think too hard about it, but it still allows you to be a little bit creative. So if you have not tried doing a sticker book as an adult, and you want an activity to wind down with, it's not stressful, and it's just relaxing fun, I think a sticker book is a really good option for that. So the two little sections I did in this one were the luggage department and the home furnishings in my department store. So those were pretty fun sections to do. And there you have it, my sticker book. I'm not gonna lie, the price for entry of this next activity does go up quite a bit, but I did a Lego set for my first time. I've never built a Lego set. The closest was that Hello Kitty knockoff Lego that I built a while ago on my channel, but me and my husband sat down and built this miniature Disney castle together, and we kind of traded off doing one bag at a time, and yeah, this was actually quite a bit of fun. So I'm just showing you basically the end of each bag, the end of each step. So this was step 3, I think, and next is me clicking in some of the castles from step 4, some of the spires, I guess you'd call them, and that is the last piece going in. This was, like I said, 4 bags, and I think it took us about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours to finish. So accomplishable in a single evening, but it is tight. Now this next activity is not really accomplishable in a single evening. This is a Wooble's crochet kit. I've never crocheted before, but I picked this one out, the Pierre Penguin, because I thought it seemed like it would be the easiest one. And here I'm kind of doing an unboxing of this Wooble's crochet kit to show you that it really does include everything you need. Now, I know that the title of this video is that these are screen-free activities. This one's technically not really screen-free because you do have to watch video tutorials on your phone. But if you really wanted to, you could go onto their website and download the pattern and print it out and read off of it that way. But for me, since I've never crocheted before, I needed the video tutorials.
Okay, so this is my Pierre the Penguin after 9 rows or nine rounds. I don't think I've done it perfectly, but for a first-time crocheter, the directions from the Woobles are pretty easy to understand. So I'm about to do the 10th round, and this one you do 6 single crochets and then an increase stitch, which means you do 2 single crochets in the same hole, and then you do 6 more and an increase stitch, and you do that 4 times until you have 32 stitches, and then that's the end of that round. So I will see if I can film me doing that, and again, remember, I'm a first-time crocheter.
Okay, voiceover E is back. As you can tell from this footage, I sped it up a ton because I think I was crocheting in this particular session for like 37 minutes, and obviously I wasn't going to include all that, and even like half speed would have been like 15 minutes. So you really can't tell too much what I'm doing, but I think what you can tell from this is how like tense my hands are, and honestly, I think I kind of got sore muscles from doing this because I was like gripping the crochet hook and like pulling it through the holes so like aggressively. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I don't think that this, for me anyway, would be accomplishable in a single evening, because I need to give my hands breaks, because I thought I'm going to get carpal tunnel from doing this. So if you're a veteran crocheter, please let me know, how do you avoid getting carpal tunnel from crocheting?
Okay, so I finished the 13th round of Pierre the Penguin, and that means I have 5 more rounds to go to complete his body, which I'm not going to show you on camera. I have to learn another stitch called the decrease stitch. So the increase stitch made it bigger, so you see there's a little circle down here at the bottom, and it gets bigger and bigger. That's from the increase stitch. Well, I have to make it smaller again, and so I'm going to have to learn a decrease stitch. So I'm going to do that and finish up the body and then hopefully the whole project pretty soon.
And with that, the wooble is done. I attached the belly patch, the beak, and the wings. And my final verdict is that though the wooble kit is very easy to follow along with, I still made a real wonky looking penguin. We've got a little bit of expectations versus reality, but that's okay.
So next up, I'm going to tell you about candle making. I got this kit from Amazon and I've already made 2 candles with it. It came with enough to make 7 candles. And this kit is really actually very, very good. And it was around $40 when I bought it. So $40 to make 7 candles I think is a pretty good value. The candles are about this big. So a pretty decent sized candle. They're not itty bitty tiny mini candles. And the kit really comes with absolutely everything you'll need, including like this pot, a stirrer. This bag has dyes in it so you can dye your candle different colors. It comes with the thermometer, the wicks, little like floral add-ons that you can decorate the top with if you want, and it comes with it came with 7 different scents, I believe. And yeah, I am going to make a jasmine scented candle tonight. Alright, and this is the instruction page, which is pretty thorough. So firstly, you've got to melt the wax, and they want you to heat up the tin that you're using. This is to prevent something called pull away.
In my opinion, the wax doesn't really take that long to melt. It needs to reach 185 degrees to be completely melted, and that is also when you add in the dye. Now earlier I showed a white jar, because I don't know, I felt like the white jar complemented like the sort of, I don't know, elegant fragrance of the jasmine. But then I just decided to like be inspired by the Disney Princess Jasmine, and so I changed over to like a tealy blue to, I guess, mimic the color of her gown, her suit set. I don't know, what do you call what Jasmine wears? But anyway, you can see right here, I've got it right up to 185, and so I'm dropping in the dye block, and it comes like with 2 little cubes, but I find one of the 2 is more than enough to dye your candle, and putting 2 of the little dye blocks in of a particular color makes the color a little bit too aggressive. And then you just dump in the fragrance, but the instructions were specific that like you do not continue to heat the wax after you add in the fragrance, because that can kind of cause the fragrance to dull. So you can see I'm adding in the little wick. Like it has an adhesive on the bottom that's really sticky. I did a horrible job of putting the wick in the middle. But anyway, you can see it's like really drifting off to the side. And it includes the wick centerer, the little metal insert that I'm putting on, but that really didn't help too much in getting my wick centered, so you will notice that. Now the candle is semi-set, so it's been like maybe 30 minutes, so it's still a little wet on the top, but like you can see it's starting to set around the edges, and that's when I added in my floral detail. And this was it the next day. Last up is this wood burning kit. This was so random, but like I was on Amazon looking at like the Wooble's crochet kits, looking at the candle making kit, looking at various like crafty, artsy type activities, and this wood burning kit like popped up as a recommended item. So like Amazon's like product recommendations were really like doing their job. I always hate when I'm advertised to like accurately and like, oh no, the algorithms, they know me. And I feel like I have failed as somebody who dislikes major corporations like Amazon on a sort of intellectual level, but golly, they're convenient. But anyway, all that aside, this wood burning kit is pretty all-inclusive. You do need tape, which, I mean, I don't know. On the one hand, it's like everybody has tape, but on the other hand, how expensive would it have been to just chuck in a roll of tape? But anyway, this kit comes with like the wood burning tool itself, but also like carbon transfer sheets so you can trace a design directly onto your wood, which is what I'm doing here. Now, if you know my channel at all, you know that I like to draw, and I may not necessarily strike you as the kind of person to trace a design, but I wanted to demonstrate that you do not have to be super artsy to use this kit. And also, the night that I made this, I wasn't necessarily in a super like creative artsy fartsy mood, so I just wanted to go with the design. I really liked this little bird anyway. Like, I saw the design on the box and I was like, oh, that looks good. I just want to do that. Rather than me freehanding a bird, why not just use the one that comes in the kit? And also, I feel like it's a good way to assess the quality of the kit. And so that brings me to my first complaint about this kit, which is that the carbon, I guess, like, I'm used to pressing down really hard when you want to do a carbon transfer, but you don't really need to. And like, it the transfer onto the wood was way too dark. And the problem with that is when you're going over it with the wood burning tool, the carbon itself is so dark that you have a hard time telling if it's burning into the wood or if you're just still looking at the carbon. See, look how dark that is. It looks like as dark as like a Sharpie or something. So I tested out writing my name on the back and then flipped it over and just got going. So there is a detail tip, which is what I'm using to do like the major outline of like the design in the center, and then I switched over to a soldering tip to do the finer details. And the soldering tip, that's my second complaint, was, I think, machined poorly, because as you use it, it begins to wobble, and when it wobbles, I feel like the heat doesn't really transfer very well to the end of the tip, and so it's very difficult and maybe even impossible to use. So this is that soldering tip. And so I don't know if you'll be able to see in this sped up version how much the tip begins to wobble. My husband was also doing wood burning with me on this evening, and he wasn't able to use the soldering tip at all, and so he wasn't able to finish his project that night, because drawback number 3 is that when you want to switch between tips, it takes like 20 minutes, because you have to unplug the machine, wait 10 minutes for it to cool so you don't burn your fingers off, then unscrew the tip, then screw in the new tip, and then you basically have to wait 10 minutes for it to heat back up. So every time you want to switch the type of tip you're using, it's at least a 20-minute process. So I skipped ahead quite a bit because, to be honest, my phone died. But I finished the wood burning, and then the kit also includes watercolors, and honestly, this is what made the project come to life. If it weren't for these watercolors, I would have been very unimpressed. But overall, I would give this like 6 out of 10 stars. So if wood burning is something you want to try, this is a good kit to try it, but I don't really think it's perfect, and there's a lot of things that I would tweak about it. But I will definitely use the other wooden plaques that came in the kit and not let them go to waste. And I will probably wood burn other things in the future, just because I've got the tool now with 12 tips to try. But that basically does it. Thanks for watching, you guys. Have a great one. Bye.